there are two most expensive words in the English language. And as I tell people, they're not I'm pregnant and they're not I do. The two most expensive words in the English language are the words I know, which means, I already know this. I don't need to learn this. There's nothing that I need to put into my brain at this time. So if you are listening and you find yourself, you catch yourself saying, I know this, PJ, you've told me this, or I understand this, you start to tune out. It's actually a way in which our brain stops absorbing information. So it is critical that when you find yourself or catch yourself saying the words I know, that you stop yourself. Coach PJ here. You want a great business? Let me teach you the 6 steps to getting a great business, to growing a great business, and what that might mean for you as a business owner, as an entrepreneur. What's it going to take for you to have a business that you are proud of, a business that you can live off of, that you can really say has grown and is the business that you want and the business you deserve. So my purpose here today in this is to do a couple things. It's to reward your time and investment with the simplest and fastest and easiest ways to increase your sales and your profit, to free up your time, to give you the time back that you need in your life so that you can do the things and the business isn't all consuming. And last but not least, so you have an amazing team. You create an amazing team, surround yourself with great people so that you can trust that the business is going to run even without you. So let's get started. Can I be your coach for the next hour? That's the goal. I'm going to be coaching you through what are the 6 steps to growing this business that you want, to getting the business you deserve. So let's go on from there. Let me start with a little bit about me and about Action Coach, about who I am and about what I do. I am part of one of the world's largest business coaching firm. We have been around for 25 plus years. We have the most number of coaches across 1,000 coaching offices in over 50 countries worldwide. We coach over 15,000 businesses every single week across industries, across continents. And that is what we bring to bear in this message around 6 steps. It is about what business owners can do and the fact that there is a recipe for a great business. We know how it works. The original message is all around what it takes to drive a business. For those of you who might cook versus bake, in baking, it's a very specific recipe, just like in business. In cooking, you kind of throw things together. You can pinch of this, pinch of that. You have a lot of room for error. In business, there's actually a recipe for a great business, and that's what we're going to talk about today, and that's what I'm going to go through with you today, is that what the business is. A little bit about myself. I am a certified business coach. I have been doing this for over a dozen years. I work with small businesses. I work with executive leaders. I work across different types of businesses, different types of industries. I personally have an engineering degree, industrial engineering degree. I love the element of making things faster and more efficient and the process better. That's what makes me tick. I also have a master's in change and a master's in operations to help business owners run their businesses and change. And oftentimes, this is about change. This is about change in your business, change in you to make the business run better. It's not always easy, but it is rewarding, and it is an element of getting to the other side of a great business. I've been doing this I've been in business over 25 years, maybe going on 30 now, and I started my first business when I was 10. I had my second business at 18. I worked in my family business. My 7 siblings all have their own businesses. There's a lot of knowledge that I bring to bear when I'm working with business owners in this space, because all businesses, although they are different industries, different owners, different dynamics, they all kind of go back to the same core principles, and that's what we're going to cover today. I love working with business owners. I my purpose in life is to inspire and encourage others to reach their full potential. That's what my mission is, and that's why I coach, and that's why I work with businesses and business owners and leaders. A little bit about today and about the conversation we're going to have is the only failure is the failure to participate. So if you decide to turn on the video and walk away, that's what you're going to get out of it. As much as you put into it, you're going to get out of it. That whole give 100%, get 100%, that is true. I'm going to give you a lot of information, a lot of knowledge. You need to stay engaged. You need to be present and take notes. Take out a sheet of paper, take notes, write down information. That's going to be super critical for you today in order to get the most out of today. A couple other things. As you start to learn, there's a couple things that you need to know. One is there are two most expensive words in the English language. And as I tell people, they're not I'm pregnant and they're not I do. The two most expensive words in the English language are the words I know. I know, which means, I already know this. I don't need to learn this. There's nothing that I need to put into my brain at this time. So if you are listening and you find yourself, you catch yourself saying, I know this, PJ, you've told me this, or I understand this, you start to tune out. It's actually a way in which our brain stops absorbing information. So it is critical that when you find yourself or catch yourself saying the words I know, that you stop yourself. It's also critical that you don't just think it, or even if you don't say it, that when you say it, there's other words you can use to take yourself to a better place. And that are the words like, isn't that interesting? Tell me more. Even those, just turn your brain on and it lights your brain up when you do that. When you say the words I know, it shuts it down. It actually goes dark if you were to do a brain scan. So think of yourself as a teenager or your teenagers in your life. When they say, I know, they're tuning you out. They're shutting you down. Nothing is going in. They're actually turning off their brains and not absorbing anything. So today, as you listen to this video, what I want to make sure you do is that you don't catch yourself tuning out or saying, I know this. Think about it. What do I need to learn from this? What's the message today that I need to gather from this? So let's get rid of the I knows in your own world. The other piece I want to get to is this concept about above or below the point. And if we have a line that we have to look at and we say, at what point in time are we on the above the point and really engaging and taking responsibility and accountability and ownership for our actions and what we have the possibility to do in the empowerment, or at what points in time are we below the point where we are in a place of blame or excuses or denial, and we are telling people that there's a reason, which is a nice word for blame or excuses, there's a reason that I'm not successful in business. There's a reason that my marketing isn't working. There's a reason that my team members aren't performing, and it's giving you an excuse. What I want you to think about as you watch this video is that you need to stay above the point. You need to stay in a place where you are empowered, where you have ownership and accountability and responsibility, and you can actually do something versus becoming the victim. You are actually empowered to do more in your world and to take charge. Those who stay below the point are really the victims, and they're the victims of the circumstances, and woe is me, and I'm not the reason that this is happening. The economy is like this, or the market goes like that, or my competition, all the reasons, all the excuses you can dream of. I really want you to think about, is your mindset, and are you building a team with the mindset that shows you above and shows you in that element of empowerment. Another thing that you have to do when you learn, which today's all about learning, is to have some fun. So my intention is to also engage you, have some fun, keep this light, and give you the learnings so that you can take them back and you can look at how to grow your business. You can also expect today that you're going to have some blinding flashes of the obvious. There are going to be some things that I say and you're like, duh, of course that's true. I knew that was true. I knew that was the case. I understood that. And there's the I know, so be careful. But you're going to have a blinding flash of the obvious that says, oh, of course that's right. And what I want you to think about is that sometimes it's how it hits you. You have heard this before, you understand some of it, but you're like, wow, that hit me differently. And that's what I want to do today, is hit you a little differently with some of the messages. And even though they might be blinding flashes of the obvious, that you take them in and you think about them and you wonder, well, what do I do with this blinding flash of the obvious? Am I implementing it? Am I taking it to the next step? And how does that work for me? So that's what I want you to look at today, and that's what you can expect today, is lots of BFOs. So let's kind of dig in. I'm going to start with the formula for life success. That's pretty broad and pretty ambitious of me, but let's start there. The formula for life success is be times do equals have. And let me explain why that is so critical. Oftentimes, we think what we do equals what we have, or by doing something, it's the result and you get something. And that's true. That's not true. But what it does is it keeps it limiting. It limits it to do, have, do, have, do, have. When you add a factor and you say be times do equals have, a multiplier to that have, how you do it changes the have and the result. So you can do something, which is the element of action, but if you do it at a level that is elevated, if you do it at a level that resonates differently, as you learn, you elevate your skill set and how you show up. The be changes. You are becoming a greater marketer, and therefore when you do marketing, you get a better result. You become a better salesperson, and then when you do sales and when you are in a sales conversation, you get a better result, a better close rate. You get a more engaged sales process that results in a client. So anytime you add that B factor and you change your B factor, you will get a better result by doing the activity. And let me give you some clarity around the B side. The best way to change your being or become better at something and grow into it, no matter what you're going to do, the easiest, cheapest way, the way to get started is to read. You see all these books back here, lots of books, lots of things to read. Read is the most effective, cheapest, fastest, easiest way, the ones you have the most control over, how to become better at something. If you want to become better at marketing, read a book on marketing. If you want to become better at sales, read a book about sales. All of that is going to change when you go to do sales. When you go to recruit, you will do it better and get a better result. And that is the formula for life success. Change who you are and how you show up and what your being is will result in the actions being stronger, better, more effective, and the result will increase. If you also think about it on the do side, we often have to think that we have to use our minds and say we are who we think we are. So we have to play with the fact that when we do something, we do it because we are thinking about it. And let's look at the being and the doing and the result. So that's one way to look at it. That's your vision for life success, and that's to carry forward. And I'll talk about it a little bit further on as well. But let's think about your business and what you are doing and you are accomplishing. You know, I always ask, is your business driving you, or are you driving your business? Who's really in the driver's seat? And how is that working for you? Because most people only ever have a job, a just over broke, a job. And that is not why you went into business for yourself. That is not why you're doing this. You're doing this because you want to empower, you want to have freedom, you want to have the ability to have no cap on your earnings. Otherwise you have a job. And the number one reason for business failure is burnout. When you are tired and you are working so hard and you're not getting where you want to go, you burn out. It's hard. And for me, it's a matter of, I don't want you to burn out. I want you to be engaged and excited and thrilled about being an entrepreneur, about being a business owner. That's my goal. And when we do that, it takes away the option of number one failure, which is burnout. It allows you to be a success in your business and drive the revenue you want, drive the goals you want, and have what you want out of the business. So let's talk about what a business is. A business, in our definition, is a commercial, profitable business that works without you. Let's tell you that again. A commercial, profitable business that works without you. That's key. So we're going to talk about each of those areas. So I say it very slowly because I want you to really absorb that. And if you've got your pen and paper out like I told you to, write this down right now. A commercial, profitable business that works without you. So in that process, there are, and I told you before, there's 6 steps to achieve this. We're going to go through each of those 6 steps, and we're going to talk about them in detail. And this is where I want you to take some more notes, and we're going to walk that ladder of 6 steps. And it is a sequential ladder, and there is a reason that it is steps. If you skip steps, or if you don't complete a step and you kind of do partial and you kind of go on to another step, you are going to create a gap, and you are going to have gaps, and they will show over time. If you skip a step and you don't have that step kind of under control and have mastered it, you will show that deficiency as you continue to climb. So keep that in mind as we go through these steps. They are sequential. They're not always done 100% sequential, but you don't want to get too far ahead without having shored up the kind of the foundational layer in the second, third, etc., and work your way through that. So the first step, it is called mastery, and it is all about stability and taking things from chaos to control. It is that foundation. It is mastery. The second level is all about cash. It is the niche. It is the predictive cash flow in your business. The third is leverage, and this is where it's all about time and leveraging your time and systemic, it's efficiency, it's things like that. The fourth level is team, which is all about, I say, happiness, or just this element of you have a team to really use, and it's the structure for growth. It's not always all about you anymore. There's a team involved. The fifth level is freedom. It's called synergy. It's this element where you have a well-oiled machine that you're operating and things are going super, super well. You can see how all the things below, from mastery, niche, leverage, and team, are really coming together to give you a great business. And the last is results. And this is where you can get diversification, where you can acquire or multiply or really expand your vision beyond the core business that you've created, because it can be replicated. And that's really the 6 steps that we're going to talk through today. We're also going to talk through a couple other key pieces. One is the 5 ways. So I said the 6 steps. We're also going to talk about 5 ways. And that's the 5 ways that we will be looking at to grow your business. And the 4 ways, which are really about how to get leverage in your business. So we'll talk about both of those as well. And I'll get into a lot more detail. So let's start. We're going to start with the first step. It is mastery. Now let's go back to our definition. A commercial enterprise. So mastery is the commercial. Mastery is about the foundation. It's the commercial enterprise part of this. And when you look at mastery, there are 4 steps or 4 elements of mastery that you have to have a strong foundation. Think about building a house, or think about how you have your life set up. You have a chair. Chairs have 4 legs. Foundation is about 4 legs, about having 4 elements. The first element is destination. And this is having a clear vision of where you want to go and what you want to accomplish. and how you're going to get there, this element of destination. Let me give you a good example. If I told you that there was $1 million buried in a house in your hometown, you would be very interested, I assume. And you'd be like, huh, interesting, wonder where it's buried. And if you took a shovel and just started digging holes, you could be doing that for the rest of your life and never find the $1 million. However, if I give you a destination and I give you an address or a coordinate, and now your opportunity for success and your opportunity to move from point A, which is where you're standing right now, to where you believe that $1 million is, or where you've been told that $1 million is going to happen very, very, very quickly. Because you have a destination, you have a coordinate, you have an address. When you have a destination in mind, you can move really, really, really quickly. If you don't have a destination in mind, where are you going? You're going to be wandering around, looking, kind of just meandering through. It's like, well, what do you want from this business? So defining what you actually want from the business. I want a business that allows me to make X million, that has this much profit, has this size team, allows me to service this type of customer, and this type of industry, this type of geography. What are the definitions of your destination? How will you know when you arrive if you don't have a destination? You'll be wandering around, you're like, I don't know if I'm here yet. Well, what does here look like? So that destination is really key to understanding where your focus is. And once you have a destination in mind, then you can go after it. Second part of foundation is money mastery. And this is the financial mastery. This is, what am I doing to make sure that I understand where the money's coming from, where the expenses are, what's the budget, what's the cash flow, how is the money moving in the business, what are my expenses? All of this is about money mastery. It's not always sexy and sizzle and fun, but you have to really look at what are the financials that support your business model. And too many business owners have trouble making good decisions because they don't have the information that they need. Well, the information is all about data and money and financials, because if you want to manage something, if you want to improve something, you have to measure it. And measuring it comes to the data and the money and the numbers. Using key performance indicators in your business, really important element. Those really tell you, what are the things that move my business? What are the types of things that in my business, in your business, are driving the results? And understanding how to make sure that they're leading indicators versus lagging indicators, because that will help you understand, am I on target? Am I going in the right direction? How am I doing? We all have GPSs, which we talked about destination mastery. Our key performance indicators are showing us that we're going the right path. They're showing us where we are on the route. And are we on the route? Has our route changed? Has our distance to the destination been increased? Has the time to achieve that destination increased? All of that comes back to the money mastery. And when we do money mastery and we really get into that, we are actually testing and measuring. We're looking at, when we do something, cause and effect, does it result in the business growing? Does it result in more customers? Does it result in a positive impact? Or is it taking us backwards or just keeping us neutral? And when we test and measure marketing, we test and measure products, we test and measure, we see what levers are going to move the business forward, and we can do more of that and drive that type of activity, which in turn grows the business. But without data and without financials, it's really hard to see that. It's working without a dashboard, not having a dashboard at all. And that is really where you struggle, because you're like, how am I going to see without a dashboard? That is the key to money mastery. The cost of chaos is huge. And we really want to make sure that we're moving from chaos to control. And a lot of that is under financial control. Some of the keys to money mastery are budgeting and forecasting, and reporting. So understanding what our expectations are for the business, What's our model? What are we forecasting? How do we report on it? Do we look at our financials regularly? Is there a way in which we can understand what is happening in the business from a windshield perspective versus a rearview mirror perspective? That is key. One of the key elements of money mastery is your break even, because you really want to see where that break even is and where's your max utilization. What's your business model allowing you to grow to? What does that look like for you? And understanding those key elements of your business, your margin, your profit margin, your net margin, your labor costs, things like that, that will be really key as you look at money mastery. The third element of foundation of the mastery, the foundation that we're talking about, is time mastery. Now, time mastery is all about productivity. Am I productive? Am I using my time to the best of my ability? Am I driving and am I getting there the fastest way possible? It has a balance on urgent and timeliness. So it's this element of I want to be efficient and effective in using my time and getting the result I want. If you focus on timeliness of high priority tasks, things like getting invoices out, collecting debt, provisioning or working through inventory, products and services, knowing your KPIs, anything that has to do with cash flow, all of those, knowing the timeliness and knowing where they fit in your business. We often think of time mastery as our own time and how we spend our time. Also think of it from the business perspective. What's the business calendar? Does the business have a calendar that flows from January to February and says, this is what I do in these months to keep the business on the task and on the route that I want to go and on the headed towards the destination? And I don't have to rethink about them because I'm productive. I know in March I do this, in April I do this, here's where I go. And it's the systemic side of it, but it's managing your time against that calendar and against the things that drive money in the business. But the time mastery is also, when you think about your own time, thinking about a time target. And in that time target, the outer ring is really the distractions. It's things that are not urgent and not important. They're the distractions, and they come and go, and they take our time, but we really need to limit the number of distractions. And then when you think about that second ring, as you get towards the center of the target, these are things that are urgent but not important. And I like to call these delusions because we tend to think they're important, but they're not. They just tend to be urgent. And these tend to be things that other people make urgent for us, or people who haven't planned effectively. They become urgent because we're fighting fires. We haven't taken care of it ahead of time, so therefore it blows up, and all of a sudden it is urgent, but it's not important. It has to be done, but it's not important. When you get a little closer to the center, as you look at a time target, there's urgent and important. Now, why is it not the center? It's urgent and important, and it is really the things that demand our attention. These are things that are client focused. They're on the demand side. The client is demanding. They're delivering products and services. These are the things that tend to generate money. So they are absolutely urgent and important. They are things that we must do in order to keep the business running. We know that they're urgent. We know that they're important because they're client service related. They're things that help bring money in the door. That kind of gets you to that third, the second ring out. The center of this time target are things that are not urgent, but they are important. Now you wonder why they're in the center, and those are because that's what makes your business grow. When you are able to work on things that are not urgent, but they're important, and they're things that grow the business. They are your planning, your marketing planning, your budgeting, your forecasting, things that are more strategic in nature. Then these are things that really propel your business forward. You're doing you're thought leadership in your business. What do I want to do next? What industry do I want to get into? How do I tackle this specific problem in the industry? How do I address this on a macro level versus on a client level or on a one-by-one level? These are big picture things. And I say that they're important, but they're not urgent, because you can leave it. You don't have to do them. But they don't ever get solved. They don't ever propel you into major growth if you don't spend time doing that. This is your think time. This is your quiet time. This is your time to not have your sleeves rolled up and in the business working on client work or getting client done in an element. It's your time where you're really looking at your numbers. You're looking at your forecast. You're looking at the business going, okay, how do I strategically take this business where I want to go? And if we don't spend time doing that, we're always a technician. We're always fighting in the business. We're always doing things like that. And that's always been an issue. So if you don't spend the time doing strategic work, you will be left in the tactical. It is not going to be something that gets demanded from you. It is something that you have to demand of yourself, and you have to schedule, because it's not going to come because it's urgent. Nothing's going to require you to spend time on this. The last element of the mastery level is delivery. And the question you need to ask yourself is, are you delivering consistently? Are you able to be the McDonald's, I know what it's going to get every time, my client's going to know, my customers are going to know, the products, the services are very reliable, very consistent. And if they are, that is the foundation for healthy growth. When you have the ability to deliver a consistent product, a consistent service, then you have the ability to measure it. You have the ability to see and modify and make things better, and test and measure and improve. But if you don't have consistency, then you don't know what you're improving. You don't know what is happening every time in the business. So it's very difficult to predict the cash flow. It's very difficult to predict what the client reaction is going to be if you don't have consistency in your products and services. So that consistency in the delivery is the number one thing for that growth. And it's about, how do you deliver the products and services? What are your processes? How do you follow them? Do you have them written down? What is that delivery mechanism in that element? We've all been to a restaurant where that delivery element sucks, right? We're like, wow, I got part of my meal, they got part of their meal, we're not being served at the same time, it's not hot. That element, it really causes problems, because your customers are unhappy and they are not willing to, come back, and you potentially lose a relationship or lose a customer long term if you can't get that delivery mastery nailed down. So I've just gone through the mastery level, and that is, when you get to it, that's the foundation. It's the four legs of the chair. It's what keeps the foundation and stability in there. We can then build on top of it, and on top of it comes niche. And niche is really, when you say a commercial, profitable, that's the profitable part, enterprise that works without you. So we're talking about the profitable, because niche is all about making money. It's also about, how do I fit into the marketplace? How does your business fit into the marketplace where you sell, and it's not based on price? There's no price competition. It's based on value. You fit into the market. And niche is all about marketing. If you make niche all about price, then you will live by price and die by price. It will lead you in every direction. If you look at it from a standpoint of loyalty and repeat business, and value, that will drive a long-term customer. And in order to become a business or be a business that does not compete on price, you have to be or do something different. You have to make up a point of differentiation, because otherwise you're a commodity. Otherwise you're like every other person in that industry, every other dry cleaner, every other dentist. You have to look at, how do I get out of the price competition, and how do I make sure that my clients are buying based on the differentiation that you have identified, that you have patented as yours, you have declared as yours, you have made obvious, your team works towards it. Everybody understands that this is how we differentiate ourselves in the marketplace. Really, really important on the price competition element. And how do you, eliminate price competition? When things are commoditized, there's no innovation. There's nothing in there. They're the same as everybody else. There's nothing there. When you look at innovation and you actually look to introduce new things in the marketplace or new things in your industry, that's where you don't compete on price, because you are innovative. You are bringing something a little different to the table. You now have something that your competition doesn't have yet. Now, once you innovate and other people copy, and they, you have your fast followers, you have other people doing this, it becomes a commodity over time. So the constant innovation is very, very important, because it will become commoditized and then it becomes stale if you're not always innovating, always looking for ways to improve, increase the opportunity for your customer to have a unique experience that's differentiated by your business, your approach to the business. When you create your niche, you create a unique selling proposition. And what that means is that you are teaching your clients, teaching your customers in the sales process why you're unique, and it actually is the reason people buy from you, the reason people do business for you, a unique selling proposition. It's something that stands out. It's something that closes the deal in a sale. And there's also an element that is the guarantee. So what do you guarantee, or what's the close? Where's the risk? How do you remove the risk? Think about, mattress companies. They'll say, if you don't like the mattress, 30-day guarantee. Well, they're not really returning that many mattresses, but it does take the risk out of getting a new mattress and running the risk. And, how do I know if I'm going to be comfortable on it and sleep on it overnight? That's a big risk for them. So when they say 30-day money back guarantee, it's like, you've just taken out the risk. And therefore, having someone buy becomes way, way easier. And it differentiates it. Now it's kind of standard in the marketplace that almost every mattress you buy has some kind of a guarantee. But that is how you create a niche, is by doing something a little different and by bringing it to the marketplace. It's typically not about just great service. You have to define what great service is in your industry, in your business. You need to test your USP. You need to test what you're doing and find out what works for you. We have a USP and a guarantee questionnaire system that kind of helps you drive that. And when you're dealing with guarantees with customers, I sometimes get questions about, I can't guarantee that, I can't guarantee this. You know what? We're talking about things that customers are frustrated with. What do they get frustrated with? And you can set the rules for the guarantee. You can make sure that you have set those, you've communicated those, but you also better make sure that you can deliver on those. You don't set guarantees like we'll be there in 24 hours or we'll call back in less than 2 hours if you can't do it, because then you've set yourself up for failure and you look even worse than if you call back in 3 hours and your guarantee is 2 hours. If you don't guarantee it and you call back in 3 hours, you might be a hero. But if you set a guarantee, you better deliver on that guarantee. And you can make up multiple points of guarantee. It doesn't necessarily have to be just one differentiation. It can be a series of points that you are driving. So a couple things as you look at it. You are looking at how do you measure and how do you go to market. It's the most important element of the marketing element. And let's talk about this chassis. Now, I alluded to it earlier that there was 5 ways of growing your business. And there's 5 numbers you need to know in your business. You need to know how many customers you have, or actually, well, most business owners know how many customers they have and what the revenue is and how much profit they make. But what's more important is that these are just results. So if you want to know these are lagging indicators. If you want to know how to change the game, you need to focus on the 5 leading indicators and the 5 proven ways that drive customers, drive revenue, and drive profit. Let me talk about what those 5 are. The first one, write this down, number of leads. The number of leads, the number of people who express an interest, the number of people who raise their hand and say, tell me more, I'm interested in your product, I'm interested in your service, and that would be the reason that you understand that they're potential customers. They're leads. They're not customers yet, but they are leads. They are people that want to learn more about your product or service. Second, conversion rate. If you want conversion rate, you have to look at, this is all about sales. This is about how do you sell and the leads, how do you convert the leads into customers? So it is a process of leads times conversion rate. If you convert 50% of them and you have 1,000 leads, then you got 500 customers. So we've got to do the math, and you say you can control how many leads you have, you can control your service, your conversion rate, and then you get the customers. So the customers are a resulting indicator. If you look at the third number, it is the number of transactions. It is how often someone does business with you, how often they're engaged with you, what's the number of transactions. This then is multiplied by the average dollar sale. So how big is your sale? What's the dollar value of that sale? And then you get revenue. So you have customers. You have these 500 customers. You have a number of transactions. They do business with you twice a year. They do business with you how often? And what's the average dollar sale? And that's where you get revenue. So if you look at it and you say, okay, I've got 2 transactions a year. I've got an average transaction of 100. I'm talking about 1,000 customers. I now have $200,000 in revenue. And the fifth one is the margin. So if I have a 25% margin, I now have a profit of $50,000. For those of you who don't love math, I know there's a lot of numbers here, a lot of information, but these 5 numbers, this number of leads, the conversion rate, the number of transactions, average dollar sale, profit margins, those are the 5 numbers that you have the ability to impact. You have the ability to make a change on. And here's why I know that. Because number of leads is all about marketing. And remember that B times do equals have? Well, if you are doing marketing, you are going to get leads. If you become better at marketing, if you become better at different types of marketing, and you do marketing, you will now get more leads. Conversion rate is all about sales. If you are selling and you become better at selling, you are going to get a better conversion rate. Number of transactions is really about customer retention and customer engagement. How often are you speaking to your customers? How often are you inviting them back? All of that has to do with the number of transactions. And when you become better at engagement, better at engaging your customer retention, you'll have more transactions. When you look at average dollar sale, you're really looking at the offerings and do they understand all the offerings that you have, and communicating that when you are better at, you're broader or you have more to offer and ways from which they can engage with you, your clients, they will spend more money on an average dollar sale. It's also about pricing, which we can talk about pricing all day long, but pricing, it increases your average dollar sale. And often we overlook pricing when it really should be front and center in the conversation. And then last but not least is profit margin. And this is the expenses in your business. And are you efficient in your business? Is your team productivity high? Are you able to do more with less because your expenses are low, or you're able to keep your expenses low while your revenue grows? So those are the 5 levels in the business, the 5 ways in the business, the 5 numbers in the business that you need to measure. And when you measure them, you get customers, revenue, and profit. And if you are able to tweak each one of those, whether it's the number of leads by becoming better at marketing, the conversion rate by becoming better at sales, the number of transactions by becoming better at client engagement, your average dollar sale by becoming better at pricing and your service offerings, and you become better at managing expenses and productivity, even just 10% better over all of the numbers, all the things we just talked about, you will see a 46% increase in revenue and a 61% increase in your profits. Let me say that again. You will see a 46% increase in revenue and a 61% increase in your profits. That's huge. That's huge. What would you do with 61% increase in your profits? Think about what you're making right now in your profit. 60% more, that's a pretty good deal. What does that mean to you? What would you do with that? And if you translate that into time, what would you do with the time that frees you up for? Because oftentimes we can put that into the element of time. As Warren Buffett says, it is not necessary to do extraordinary things to get extraordinary results. We are talking about improving elements of your business, those elements we just talked about, by 10%. It is not about doing extraordinary things. It's about doing ordinary things well. So enough about niche. Let's talk the third level, leverage. And leverage is a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you. So that works, and that's that element of systemization. That's that element of how do you become hyper productive in your operational elements. It's about systems. And when we say systems, we say save yourself time, energy, money. SYSTEM. Save yourself time, energy, money is the key to having a system. And when you have a system, it runs your business, and you can see that things are operational, and you can predict, and you have that consistency we talked about earlier. That makes a difference. There are 9 steps to systemizing a business. Let's start with the top 3. The top 3 are all about vision, mission, culture. This is about destination, about, okay, what do I want this, how does this need to be aligned to my business? How does this fit into my vision, my mission, my culture? What is the goal here in systemizing this business or systemizing this process? If you know those 3, then you have a strategic view of your systems. The next 3, I guess I could say the next 3, is about getting SMART goals, getting very specific about the goals you want in that system, organizing around it. So who are the people, and what are those people expected to do? So you have the org chart, you have the goals, you now have, what am I going to do and who's going to do it? And how are they going to do it? Because I have positional contracts. I know what the expectations are. And I kind of start to work my way down. Number 7, 8, 9 is really that how-to, that KPIs. How am I going to measure it? How am I going to, what's my how-to systems? And last but not least, that last one, how am I going to manage it? How am I going to measure it as KPIs? How am I going to do it is the systems or the protocols, your processes. And then how am I going to manage it? How am I going to know if I'm out of control? How am I going to know if my system's not working? How am I going to know if my process is broken? That's the management systems. And only when you have that step 9 and you really get through all of those, do you have a way to put a system in place and know when it falters. And this, for all you control freaks out there, which I know there are a few, this is where control freaks kind of get hung up, is I have to be in it. Well, if you have a great management system that you can see when things are turning red, when things are not operating correctly, when your system is not being followed, then you can back off the control. And this is where you get the freedom, is in a system, and you don't stick out as the technician. You don't stay in that role. You stay more as the leader or the manager. And you are able to let go of things, but you have to have the controls in place so that you can trust and you can verify that the work is being done to the level you want it done. So that's really leverage, is systems. It's all about systems. The 4th level is team. And when we think about team, we think about a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you. And the without you is the team. Because you now are looking at, how do I have a team that is going to have as much stake in the business as I do, have as much interest in the success as I do. Now, most employees are motivated. They're energetic. They're committed. They're enthusiastic. They're loyal. And then they come to the office, or then they go to work. And that's a famous quote from Tom Peters that basically says, we have highly motivated, energetic, committed, enthusiastic, loyal people, and then we as leaders and managers demotivate them. Shift the morale, shift the enthusiasm, squelch that. What we need to be doing is really looking at, how do we feed that engine? How do we empower our people? And as the coach, the owner manages the team works with the customers work with the business, and it kind of goes around. It's a big wheel. And if you're not coaching your team, if you're not engaging with your team appropriately, and then you're not going to get the leverage. You're not going to get the synergy that comes from having a team that understands what you're doing, that is using the systems that you've built, that has put the controls in place so you can manage them. That's the wheel. That's the big wheel that allows your team to do their work. There are 6 keys to a winning team. When you know you have a great team, there are 6 keys. If you are missing one of these keys, there's definitely a gap in the team. The first is strong leadership. As the leader, you need to be strong. You need to be clear about what your expectations are. You need to be driving the mission, the vision, and really giving that leadership and being someone they can count on. Second, common goals. Does everybody understand their goals? Is the entire organization aligned to the goals of the business and the goals of what they're trying to achieve? Because when they are, they can all march in the same place. If they're trying to pull in different directions, you're not going to get very far. Third, rules of the game. So if you have a team and they don't know the rules, it can be frustrating. It can be frustrating for your employees if they don't know the rules. If you're going to teach them the rules when they break the rules, that can also be frustrating. I don't want to know when I do something bad, and the only time you're going to correct me or give me feedback is when I do something bad. I want to know the rules going in so that I can be successful. Think about it as a sporting event or a board game that you've played with your family, your friends. Have you ever played with someone who knows all the rules and you don't? Well, they're already thinking strategically. You're not. You can't, because you don't know the rules. You don't know how it's all going to play out. So you're at a disadvantage if you don't know the rules in a board game, in a video game. And once you know the rules, and once you've played once or twice, you're like, oh, I get it. I want to collect as many properties as I can in Monopoly. I want to, you begin to understand how the game is played, and you can play better and be more strategic and be more effective and potentially, win the game or be successful in the game if you know the rules. But when you don't know the rules, you're stumbling around, and all of a sudden someone says, oh, you can't do that. And you're like, what do you mean I can't do that? Well, that's against the rules. And you're like, well, when were you going to tell me that? Think about how that is for an employee if you're not giving them boundaries and guidance and parameters, saying, here's how we roll, here's our rules of the game, here's how we embark, here's how we treat customers, here's what we can do with the selling price, here's what we can do with our products, here's the leeway, here's what you have the option to do. So knowing the rules of the game is hyper critical for your team and for everybody involved. The fourth, an action plan. What are they expected to do? What is their role? What do they do on a daily basis? What are you grading them on? What are you evaluating them on? Do they understand their daily activities and daily goals to contribute to the team at large and to contribute to the success of the business? That is their action plan. 5, support risk-taking. If you don't support risk-taking, if you don't empower your people, they won't take risks and they won't put themselves out there. They'll always be dependent on you as the leader. You make the decisions, you decide, you this. Therefore, if my opinion doesn't count, or if I don't have a say, or I don't have the ability to make a decision, I'll stop making decisions as an employee, and therefore all decisions, everything starts flowing to the owner, and you're critical in everything that goes on in the business. When you say, you know what, I understand, you can take a risk, you're allowed to make a decision with the customer, you're allowed to go on talk about the delivery dates, you're allowed to talk about pricing, and you give them the rules of the game to support that risk-taking, you are empowering them, and you are free to do other things because you're not in the conversation every single time, because they're allowed to take appropriate risks based on their role, their job function, and what the rules of the game are. So support risk-taking is number 5. And the last but not least is number 6, 100% inclusion and involvement. This is an important one because I see this in family businesses sometimes. or in businesses where there's friends or kind of unusual relationships between employees, where that person gets a hall pass. That person doesn't have to participate in the weekly staff meeting. That person can show up late. When you have someone in your business who has kind of the right of way and is able to not follow the rest of the rules or not align with everybody else in the organization, it erodes the rest of the organization. And everyone sees it, and everyone understands it, and everyone says, that's kind of interesting. They don't have to follow the rules. Why do I? Or they get a hall pass. And there's definitely an element, they don't have to participate in this training opportunity. Why not? Everybody else does. Everybody else is going to be growing and learning. Why are they not required to? So when you have people who are allowed to opt out, who don't have to follow the rules, who get exceptions, it erodes the opportunity to have a winning team. There's always a little bit of a gap in the potential of that team. And winning teams know how to get the right people on the bus and put them on the bus. And let's talk about the bus analogy, because it's a good one. If I have, how many drivers do I have on the bus? One leader. Where are they going? Well, that's the goal. Most buses don't leave the station without having a goal in mind. Where are they going? They follow the rules of the road. That's the third thing. They follow the rules of the road. They have an action plan. When am I going to stop where? They know who they're picking up along the way or what routes they're going to cover. They have a plan. As you look at it, there's only one driver, and they have the right people on the bus. And you're either on the bus or off the bus, which is this 100% inclusion and involvement. You can't have people who are kind of sort of on the bus when they feel like being on the bus. You're either on the bus or off the bus. So the bus analogy has a lot of depth to it. Thinking about there's only one driver. There might be other navigators. There might be people who are helpful, but there's really only one person at the wheel. And getting the right people on the bus is hyper critical to your success. And getting the people who shouldn't be on the bus off the bus and letting them opt out of the bus and saying, you know what, this isn't a good fit. That will make a huge difference in your team. The fifth level of the 6 steps to a great business is synergy. And synergy is where synergy and results, I'll cover those a little bit together because they are related. It's about growth, and then it's about your freedom. So at this point in synergy, you have the team, you have the systems, you have the foundation, you have the controls, you have the marketing, the niche. Now it's time to install an ops manager, a general manager, someone who runs the business, because this is where you get to a commercial, profitable business that runs without you. You have somebody else who's really running that team, and you can put your business on autopilot. Quoting Richard Branson, if you can learn to run one business successfully, then there's no reason you can't run any number of businesses at the same time. The principles are the same. We've just talked about the fact that you have to have a team, you have to have leverage, you have to have marketing, you have to have foundational elements, whether it's time or delivery or financial. All of those things matter. And they're a recipe for the business. They're how you're going to move forward. If you quote Jim Rohn, a great business leader, he says, never wish your life was easier. Wish that you were better. And work harder on yourself than you do on your job. And his message there is really about becoming a better leader, becoming a better manager, becoming better at your job so that you can grow this great business. And what I want to really get into as you look at these 6 steps is, what am I going to do with this information? Because knowledge is only valuable when acted upon. You've spent time listening to these videos. You've spent time really thinking about your business. Hopefully you've taken some notes. And where do you want to take it from here? Do you want to implement this? Do you want to use coaching? Do you want to, engage with someone who can really help you drive this to the next level? That's really where someone like myself comes in, is to look at that you will grow and you will move forward. It's the pace at which you can move forward and the pace at which you can achieve is what a coach will change. And I can guarantee that 12 months from now, you're going to arrive. But the question is where? How far are you going to be? How close are you going to be to your goals, to your destination? Because my commitment is to help you drive that and to help achieve those goals. If all this conversation is great and you have some questions, you want to follow up, you're curious about how to grow your business, reach out. I'm happy to have a conversation with you. I'm happy to have a complimentary coaching session where we will talk about your business. We will dive in deep and we will build a plan on how you can go forward. My goal is and my purpose and my mission in life is to inspire and encourage others to reach their full potential. Your business profit. Until next time.